Yo, Steve, what's up? Yo, what up? I already left. Perfect, we're all on time aside from Nav.
It's New York City, man. This is the mecca of nightlife. Industry talk. Industry talk. Industry talk. This is industry talk. This is industry talk.
Live and direct, baby, on the ones and twos.
It's not talked about enough. The mental psyche of a DJ traveling alone. The bottle girls, the bus boys. What specifically can you take out of nightlife that will allow you to find a job later on in life? No.
Industry.
Yeah, but it's something to talk about.
It matters. It really matters.
Those people are trying to put us on more than we're trying to put each other on. Networking. Boom. That was my answer. I appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.
And we out. One.
There's not a shelf life to this game. There's just the shelf life that you set for yourself.
We here, man. Industry Talk with Big Ben.
And I'm here with the Jason Experience.
We are here at Industry Talk.
This is Industry Talk.
It's the Kid Daytona, and I'm out here with the Jason Experience.
This isn't a pizza you put in the microwave at 3 minutes and you come back and it's ready. It takes time. It took me half a decade to just be relevant. Industry Talk, welcome back to the Function House. This is season 3, episode 1. Bobby Trends in the building. Make some fucking noise, man. Shake the block. Bobby Trends.
Block.
Can y'all make some noise for Bobby Trends in the building, please?
Thank you.
Now, this is our first time coming back on camera, so there is some things that I do want to iron out. Look, it's been a month since I've been back on Industry Talk, and I've seen the state of the culture, the state of the industry, and it's been appalling to see like what's been going on recently. Specifically, want to talk about clout. I really want to get into this subject today. I used to work for someone. That's how I started promoting. You know, what I mean, I was a really sub promoter, like really low level promoter. I started working for a kid who worked for a kid who worked for a kid who was running the party. Right. So I couldn't converse with door people. But that made me grind. I took the $200 that I made and I paid a photographer, and those pictures that I used were to create what I created later. So like I'd have a photographer go around the whole club, take pictures. Now I could use those relationships to move on. I wasn't making any money. Like that's clear to everybody now. Like back then I was not making a dime. I would waiter bar mitzvahs, take the $150 I made off waitering, use that to pay for my photographer. The photographer would then take pictures. I would use that content to promote my brand. People keep thinking 10 girls isn't gonna get you somewhere. If your objective is to get 10 girls into a club and stand in front of them, you'll never sell out a whole club. Never. Your objective is to throw an event. Get to that level, then buy your Balenciagas. Too many people are worried about that blue check and not their name next to a check. Too many people worried about wearing Balenciagas, living in their mom's basement. Too many people in this game are giving you titles without a check. Stop letting an OG give you a title if it doesn't come with a check. Understand that? These clout moves don't give you residual incomes. Stop posting pictures with artists that are not going to post pictures with you. These guys are not your friends. This is a business. Y'all need to understand that. The youth needs to understand that. Do not quit your 9 to 5 if you're going into nightlife. You're going to need to use that 9 to 5 money to pump into the brand that you're going to build. If you don't have that money, all you're going to do is use that $200 for the Balenciagas that you bought. Okay, great. Now you're in the club broke as hell, can't pay a bottle tip, can't tip the bus boys, can't tip the security outside, can't get what you need to get done, and that's where the problem begins. All this fake shit, all this clout shit needs to stop. Start focusing on shit you can monetize. In 2020, if it's not monetized, stop trying to do it. That being said, this subject is so important to me that I wanted to start it off with you. You know what I'm saying? You've been in the game for, 15, 20 years now? Just about, yeah. You've seen it all, done it all. You started your career in New Jersey, carrying crates, driving a bus for Flex. Tell me how that humility helps you in the future.
I feel like in order to be a leader, at some point you had to be a soldier.
You understand? So, in all the different things that I've done and created, I was successful at them because I was at the low level at one point. So, in order for you to tell the next soldiers coming up what to do, you have to have had done it, and have had to succeed and fail and then show them, hey, you're doing this wrong. You gotta do it this way. You know, so like when I started throwing, because I actually promoted events at one point. So when I did that, I knew how to hand out flyers, because I used to hand out flyers. Hey, I need you to hand out a flyer. You know, go to that person, tell them this. Jump out the car, go get that group, the group of girls that's standing there, go talk to them, invite them to the party. Don't be scared. What are you doing? You know, so it's just like when you're at the low level, you learn low level, and in order to get to the top level, you have to know all the levels, I feel, you know?
So let's go back to your upbringing, because this is super important. A lot of people think their clout in other industries gives them clout in this industry. Tell me how you grow up. Tell me how you grew up, and just break down really when you got into music and how you got into music.
You know, I grew up in New Jersey. I grew up in the Irvington Newark section of New Jersey, Essex County. And where I grew up, we didn't really have, at the time, we didn't have any like real success stories. So you basically like, you grew up looking up to your parents, right? Or the people that you knew from the street or from whoever was in front of you, you know?
Which at the time was who? Like at the time, was it the streets or was it family?
It was both, because I come from well, first of all, like most parents that grew up around my area, parents were either victims or hard workers. You know, so those who your first teachers were. And my parents happened to be hard workers. So I had great parents, you know, but because they were hard workers, they had 2 jobs, they were never home, and their background from South America, they grew up a certain way where the kids just stayed in the house, everybody took care of each other, and that was it. And we grew up like that. All the cousins, brothers, and sisters stayed together. So at 5 years old, I would walk to the store by myself. You know, I'd walk to my grandmother's house 2 blocks away by myself. So on those journeys, I would actually see things that sometimes I wouldn't even tell my parents when I came back home, you know, because it was just like they won't let me walk by myself anymore if I told them. You know, I just recently told my mother about things that I was seeing, you know, as a kid, and she started crying, you know. But I think all those things, they kind of just help build my character, and, you know, that's the type of stuff that happens, the type of stuff that builds your character. You learn, you know.
What I really am trying to get at is the fact that I think that a lot of people come into this industry with, let's say, street credit, or they come in with this ego that they built off something else, and they think that's going to credit over to now the industry.
I see that.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And I really see that in your story when you talk about your past and how you grew up. You weren't, now by all means, let's take it to like 17, 18 when you're finally getting into the music business. There's no way that you didn't have a already high ego, high pride, based off where you're from, what you've been doing.
I was hungry.
You was hungry.
I was hungry. Like at one point in my life, I didn't have a place to live. You know, so I've been DJing I've been into music since I was 10 years old. I started collecting music probably since I was 12, and started DJing when I was 14. So at 14, you know, I was doing like house parties and the high school parties
Prom
and
all
things
that.
like that. Not even the prom. Like it was, I couldn't even get that status yet.
Like the house
know?
events.
Yeah, it was just like, you know, things like that. Because of where I grew up, I'm used to watching people either do well or not do well, and I always learned from that, you know. So I guess it was just like a survival tactic, kind of like, don't do what he did. That didn't work out for him. Do what he did. That worked out. So, you know, it's a learning process as you grow up, you know. And luckily, I guess I had the right people around me to teach me right and wrong. You know, like I think everybody does, but does everybody pay attention? You know what I'm saying? Like, so, but there were things that I needed. So I guess the things that I needed, in order for me to get those things, I had to do things a certain way. So when I finally, like at 18, I left home, a little bit earlier than that, maybe like 17, 18. I left home and I had a really hard time. So going through that, I had to figure out what was the right thing to do, what was the wrong thing to do. And I did run into a couple of the wrong things, and I bumped my head, and I learned from them, you know. So, and it took me away from the music, you know. So having to survive took me away from the music. I wasn't even listening. I wasn't paying attention. What I loved, I stopped. So once I bumped my head a couple times and figured out how to get back on my feet the right way, I told myself that I would get back into the music because it was just calling me. I loved it. I missed it, you know. So I went back and started again. I was rusty. I called friends that I knew that were DJing, but weren't necessarily in the lavish part of the game. They were doing like Sweet 16s and like weddings and fashion shows and things like that. And you know, I was like, hey man, let me come and do a set. So they were like, yeah, cool, because they remember me from high school, and they were like, oh, he's nice. So I jumped in, and I helped most of them when I was in high school. So so it was like kind of like only right. And I really feel like me getting into the music industry, it was kind of like, it's my calling, because I didn't go look for it. I actually really didn't go look for it.
So how did music come to you?
It jumped in front of me. And when I saw it, I was at a job. I had a job. I went back to school. I went to like a technical school for a year. You know, did that just to get on my feet. I had a computer job. I was a computer tech. And at that job, I started, like, I would go online and look at websites. So at the time, there was like a website. It was like you know, just Google things, Google hip hop. So I found, there was like a website called hiphop.com or something. It was just like a general, and it had all these links. So I would go to all the links and just look, because I was bored, because I would do my work fast and then I would just go and look. So I found Flex's site. And Flex's site had a flashing light that said, if you want to be in the music business, press this. So I clicked on it, and it says to call this number. So I'm like, what? I'm like, this is like some bullshit. I was bored. I called like on some whatever shit, and I called, and I was like, yeah, I want to be in the music business, right? And they were like, oh, you want to be an intern? And I was like, oh, this is like a real thing. They were like, yeah. And I was like, so what do I have to do? They was like, you got to come up here, fill out an application. They fill out an application. I said, okay. I said, I'm coming. What's the address? They were like, well, there's nobody here right now, so you got to call back. So like for like 2 weeks straight, no one
was there.
No one would be there. I'd call them, like, oh, no one's here, no one's here, no one's here. So then I just called one. They said, I have a delivery for Flex. What's the address? They gave me the address, and I ran up there. And so they said application, so I'm thinking I got to get like dressed and like, you know, so I put like some like cargo, like khaki pants on. Like I had like a nice polo,
little church outfit
like
on.
Not even like I had the polo sweater with the bear.
Oh,
you know, like I was like
the good credit score outfit. Okay.
With some clean construction Timbs and a pea coat. You know
A pea coat?
And a pea coat. Yeah, that's, you know. So,
Bobby with the pea coat, man. I want that back. I want Bobby with the pea coat back.
So I stepped in there and I saw Shorty that was the receptionist that was answering the phone. I said, hey, what's up? I recognized her voice. I was like, yeah, what's up? It's me. I was like, I've been calling. She was like, oh, yeah, just sit right there. I sat there for like 2 hours. And finally somebody walks in. Matter of fact, Flex walked in first. And I saw Flex. And I grew up listening to Flex. So I'm just like, oh, shit, that's Flex. And he just looked at me. He was like, gave me the thumb. And I was like, all right. And then the next two guys came in, and then she was like, oh, those are the guys you need to speak to. I said, fine. So she walks me in, and I go into this conference room in Flex's office in the back. And there were like 30 guys in this conference room. Everybody was rubber banding flyers.
Oh, like the guerrilla marketing back in the day, where
Right.
like they had the little flyers they're giving out in Times Square.
For the Tunnel nightclub. And posters. They were rubber banding posters together. And there was just a lot of like crazy shit going on in there. And I actually put my government name on this application. So like I go in there and everybody looks like they just got out of jail. So like I was
And you
like,
got your pea coat on with your credit score outfit.
So they're like, what's up, man? What's your name? I was like, it's on the application. They were like, oh, Roberto. What's up, Roberto? They were like, yeah, I'm born true. Or I'm Chisel. My name is Deuce. My name is Hawk Base. I was just like, damn, man, I should have told him I was Trends. Because I've been Trends like for a
whole
long
time.
time. I've been Trends for a long time. But I was Trends. I wasn't Bobby Trends. I was just Trends. I was Trends 1 because I used to do graffiti. So it was Trends 1. So I was just like, yeah, I was going to tell him I was Trends. So I said, you can call me Trends. She's like, nah, you're Roberto. So I was Roberto for the longest after that. Or they had jokes. They used to call me Ricky Martin.
Martin?
Because I was the only Latin dude on the team. So they were like, oh, no, you Ricky Martin, ding, 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 ding. They used to do that. I was like, man, keep fucking with me. But I would just keep quiet.
He said,
So, like, but I'm the type of guy that I understand levels. So all of that shit that they were doing, I've been through things like that before. Like, on different levels. So
in
I'm
the
just like,
park, in the
okay.
barbershop.
I get it. Like, no, but even before that, like, just like in the street, there's certain people in the street that when they speak, you kind of just, when you're coming up, you just chill out. You know what I'm saying? You show respect. No matter what they're saying, and even if you don't like it, you kind of just be like, all right, I'm not built for that yet, so I'm gonna sit back right here and watch, and then I'm gonna pass you. So I actually, like, I said to myself that day in that room, I said, the people in this room, and not to disrespect anybody in them, because I actually still know some of them guys, I'm going to pass all of them. I feel like nobody's about their business in here. They're about now. I went in there, and I was just like, this is actually, like, a real thing.
I think one of the most beautiful things about being the youngest person in the room is that I can look around and be like, hey, you guys have way more accolades than me, but you don't know about what I'm about to do.
Right.
Like that,
exactly.
that future is something they can't buy back.
And
Their past is already solidified. That's done. But what we're able to do the next 10 years, that's what's
And
surprising.
I didn't tell anybody what I wanted to do. I went in there and didn't even ask.
What were some of the duties you had to do as an intern?
Rubber band the flyers together. That was what was so crazy is that when I walked into that office, that was after that I wasn't even allowed back in the office. Like they said, come back Monday. When I came back Monday, matter of fact, I stayed in that room. Nobody really spoke to me other than asking me my name and joking. And I sat there. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm sitting there, and people just kept leaving, and then it was empty. Nobody interviewed me. And then the lights turned out, and so I see the receptionist like, hey, I was like, I'm still here. She was like, what happened? I was like, nobody came to talk to me. She was like, oh, just come back Monday. You got the job. I was like, all this difficulty just for that? So I'm like, all right, cool. And I was like, what I got to do? She said, bring a book bag, a stapler, and that's it.
That's it.
And dress warm. I was like, I don't know what that means. But I came back Monday, and I rang the intercom thing, and they were like, oh, just wait outside. Back door. So I went to the back door. Somebody opened the door and threw all these flyers in my bag and gave me a roll of posters. And was like, you got your stapler? I was like, yeah. I was like, what am I getting myself into, right? And I sat there, and they were like, somebody's going to be with you in a minute. Just wait. I said, how long? They were like, just wait. So I waited, and then the same two guys that walked in the first time amongst the 30 dudes, they were like the captains of the street team. They came out, and they were just like, yeah, you're going to go with him. Just follow him. You got a Metro card? And I drove. I was like, nah, I drive. They're like, oh, perfect. You're going to drive us around. I'm like, man. They're like, you from Jersey or something? Because only Jersey people have cars. I was like, yeah, sure. So we started driving around, and we ended up putting flyers on all these different cars in different locations. I didn't know about any of these spots. We started putting posters on, like, on poles, promoting the tunnel, all these things. And I remember it was like the coldest night ever. And I was just like, damn, it's fucking freezing.
Well, they told you to stay warm. They did. That was the only thing they did tell you to do.
But I didn't have like a ski mask and shit in my face. It's fucking about to fall off.
They didn't have the Canada Goose out yet back
Nah,
then.
they didn't have that.
When do you become like the flex driver?
So that took 6 months. So I worked for free for 6 months, and I still had my day job.
The computer job, correct?
Yeah. So 6 months later, like coming back and forth to the city all the time. You know, even though I had a decent job, like I was spending money on, I had my regular bills, but then like spending money on tolls and gas and garages and eating out every night. Like I wouldn't have a dime left. So I'm like, I need some type of bread. So shout to Paul Knotts. Paul Knotts was the office manager at the time, and like he ran, he had parts in the tunnel and all types of things. He kind of like, he did the hiring and all that stuff. So I asked him, I said, hey, man, I said, what do I got to do to get some money? And he was like, you from Jersey, right? I said, yeah, you got a license. I said, yeah. He said, oh, you could drive. He was like, it's only $75 a week, though. I was like, whatever, man. I just need some bread, whatever. So, and you get paid bi-weekly. So I got $150 every week for 6 months. And I basically like just would go wherever they said. I'd pick up Flex's crates, drop them off at the club. All the street team guys, they would be with me. I like the higher rank guys, and they basically would just tell me where to go. Kind of like just, we have these places to go to. You have to drive there. And then we would stop like at the one guy's girl's house, so we stopped at the weed spot, or we stop over here. And so it was just like I was just the driver. But then when we stopped, I had to go back outside, hand out flyers, do everything we had to do. And that lasted for 6 months, and then I got fired.
Why'd you get fired? Industry talk. Industry talk.
So after, on Sundays, I would have to drive all the product, meaning like all like the posters and the flyers to the tunnel and Flex's crates. But we'd have to get there like at 6 p.m. We'd have to wallpaper the club with like all types of like posters of whatever like music Flex's marketing company was promoting.
This is before electronics, before we had like everything in LED and all that good stuff.
Before good social media.
Yep.
So so then after that, like at the end of the night, I would have to drop Flex's crates off at the office. I'm trying to remember everything. This is crazy, trying to bring it back. I would sometimes have to drive a security off. Matter of fact, I used to drop off one of the security guards right here at the Red Hook Projects.
Right here.
And then I'll have to go to the Bronx and drop off another guy in some other projects in the Bronx. And then have to come back downtown to 25th Street where my car was parked in a lot and get my car but drop the van off. So when I would drop the van off, a lot of times the garage attendant would be asleep. And I'd bang on the gate for like a half an hour. And I started to get to my day job about like 8:30. So I'm like, I'm upset, I'm tired, I'm aggy. I'm just
You
like,
left the van?
Nah, I got into a fight with the
with
the garage attendant. Because he came at me kind of crazy, so I thought he was trying to attack me. So I took him down. So, well, not the first time. The first time I threatened him, I said, because he was like spitting in my face, yelling at me, because he was used to the other guys talking to him crazy. I'm like, I'm not that guy, man. Like, I'm not the rest of these guys that come in here and talk to you crazy. I'm a respectful person. Just chill out. But he kept yelling. So I said, I'm going to smack the shit out of you if you keep talking to me like that. I just want my keys to the car so I can get to work. Get the fuck out of my face. It happened the next week, but this time he was more aggressive. So for me, if you break my
that personal space also.
Personal space, I got to take you down. So I took him down. And then I got a call the next day. Well, on Monday, the next day, I come to the office and I hear Flex's manager. He picks up the phone. He's like, a guy with a black Honda. He was like, yeah, what happened? And I'm sitting, I'm like, oh, shit. And he was like, he put his hands on him. What are you talking about? And I got fired.
And you make your comeback with Cypher Sounds, correct?
Right.
So how does the Cypher Sounds
Did your research? Damn.
Yeah, so you link up with Cypher Sounds. He brings you back up to the station.
Yeah, he brings me back to the station.
Flex sees you, doesn't say anything.
Oh, no, he was talking to me crazy. He said, hey, I know you, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I fucking fired you. And I was like, yeah. And it's funny because I tell him the story, and he acts like he doesn't remember the shit. But it was like he was testing me, so he was just like, that doesn't bother you? I was like, nah, it don't bother me. I've been through things in my life. He's like, are you tough? I was like, nah, I'm not tough. And he was like, all right. He was like, walk backwards, close the door. Get out of here. I was like, not a problem. Walked out, and Cypher was like, shit, man, I was trying to get you in here. Like, this is crazy. But he was just like, he ended up liking me.
So when does that happen? When does the collaboration come to the point where like he reaches out his hand and like, all right, let's bring this together?
So I would be up at the station, interning at the station for him. I was filling in for Cypher because he was just answering the phones, ordering the sandwiches. So I was doing that, and I saw Flex struggling with something. He was trying to put his mixtapes out in the street, and I already did that with Cypher, so I knew how to do it. And he was actually calling people, trying to put orders in for his mixtapes, and they were hanging up on him because they thought he was a person imitating Flex. They were like, oh, that's a good Flex impersonation. He's like, no, hang up. So I was like, let me call for you. And I got a couple of numbers I could do too. And it was weeks where he wouldn't even speak to me. He just went in there and was just like, would do his thing. I'd take his records out, whatever. But I did that. I made him some money. Things worked out, and he was just like, "Hey man, can you come and be in my office like once a week? And well, can you come and work for me in the office?" I was like, "I got like a real job."
Yeah.
And he was just like, "Well, can you take off once a week?" I was like, "You can't take off once a week, get a real job. You get fired." And then he said, "What I got to do?" I said, "You got to match my pay. And I want to open up for you, and I want a job up here at the station." Because I mean, mixtape game was serious. So
I think that this is also something that's really important. Like, it took you a year and a half to really make that statement. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these DJs come up in the game and they make that statement really early. You know what I mean? They put in, they work, they open up for me like 2-3 times, and now it's, you know, and I really, that humility, that humble approach is gone. You know what I mean? Because you can circumvent the whole thing and get 20,000 followers on Instagram, fake.
But I think it's different now. It's different now because now being a DJ is easier, more accessible than it was back then.
100%.
You know, back then you had to really have a collection of records. You had to like really like. Remember, I said I was collecting records since I was 12, so I had catalog. I had crates already. You know what I'm saying? So like, where like now all you got to do is just download the shit, or you could share somebody's computer and have 20,000 songs.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it is now. So it's just easier. People don't have to work as hard to get to it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
we'll get to the dilution of nightlife. That's definitely a topic that I want to get onto, like the accessibility of being a DJ and the fact that it's so easy. But I do want to continue on this timeline with you. So you do get the relationship with Flex. When do you start hitting the clubs heavy? Like, when's the first? At what age do you start hitting the clubs heavy? And at what age do you start really headlining?
So, so now I guess I was about 21 because I was legally able to walk into the club. So with Flex, when I said I wanted to open up, like, it was like a couple weeks later, his assistant calls me and she's just like, "Hey, so can you, do you have any warrants?" I was like, "What kind of question is that?" I was like, "No, I don't have any warrants." "Why?" "So you can fly." I was like, "Yeah, I can fly." She was like, "I need you to go to Miami in the morning." I was like, "It's 10 o'clock at night. What time you want me?" She was like, "Be at Newark Airport 4 a.m. You're going to Miami to go open up for Flex." I was like, "What I got to do? What I got to bring?" She was like, "Well, you're only allowed 2 bags, so bring..."
You don't got to dress warm this
so,
time.
So bring a bag and bring a crate. I was like, "No, I'm bringing 4 crates and I'm paying for all the shit and I'm bringing my luggage because I'm not going to be caught out there short-handed with 1 fucking crate of music." So I went and opened up and it was fire. And next thing you know, like, you know, he was just, the tunnel had closed and I think Cheetah was the club at the time. And he was just like, "Yo, we're going to go on to Cheetah. I'm going to kill this shit." And like, this is when I started to see War Flex. War was like, "I don't give a fuck who's in there. We're going to get him out. We're going in there. You're going to open. I'm with you every Saturday. You open and you playing from 10 to 2.
He's competitive, man. He's
Super
so competitive.
Super competitive.
Till this day, he's
Yeah.
for
I've learned a
for
lot.
real, for the people watching at home. I say whatever you want about Flex. The competitor in him
No, he's competitive.
is insane.
He's still in the game. He's been #1 for the longest.
His ethic and the way that he like did. Again, there's stuff that I know in the back end. You know what I mean? And the way he approaches something.
I'm gonna write a book one day.
I'll buy it.
It's crazy, like the behind the scenes of the things that I've seen running around with Flex and the amount of things that I've learned. And it's funny because I actually pass it on to my guys now. It's the way to win. You know, like I have to say I don't do everything that Flex does. I have my own way of doing things because I've learned my own ways of doing things, but I definitely have taken some notes from the Flex book. You know, so I want to say I'm just as competitive, but I'm quiet when it comes to my competitiveness. Kind of, it's just I have different approach.
I agree. There's a dog in the fight. You know what I'm saying? There's a dog in you that really wants to fight all the time. There's a chip on your shoulder also.
You ever see the dog that doesn't really bark that much, but will bite the shit out of you? Yeah, that's me.
That's you. Well, let's talk about that. You were a pit bull, right? Mm-hmm. So you were a pit bull at one time. What was that like, being initiated into that, you know, into that camaraderie? What was that like to have a team behind with you at that moment? Because the second you got onto that is really when the headlining gig started to come to fruition, correct?
Well, no. I actually, opening for Flex, put a lot of eyes on me. So like it took a year at Cheetah for me to start headlining. So I started headlining at Club Envy. Club Envy was a legendary club in the city. I was there every Sunday for 3 years, and I would DJ from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. You know what I'm saying? So being a pit bull came, or just being next to Flex came with a lot of good and bad. So, but to me, it's all good. People would think it was good and bad, but you know, there's people that would dislike me, and there's people that would be interested in me. Can't say love. They were interested, and then there was competition because people were like, "Oh, Flex is the king, so you must think you're next." So now the DJ competitiveness was at an all-time high because I wasn't on the radio yet, and there were a bunch of people, other DJs that were at my level that weren't on the radio yet, and we were all trying to get there. You know, actually, I started to try after 1 year at the clubs. I was looking at it. I'm like, damn, this radio shit might be a thing. My plan was never to be on the radio. I just wanted to be a hot DJ in New York City. I just wanted to fuck these clubs up. That's all I wanted to do. And that I got to that. You know what I'm saying? So what was the next part after that?
No, so we're talking about the Pitbull collaboration. Basically, to give people back at home, Pitbull was a team of DJs that Funk Flex created back in around 2006, I want to say 2005. And so. Around that area, they created Pitbulls. You were a part of it, Cypher Sounds, Funk Flex. Who else was a part of that?
There were a bunch.
It was like 10 of you, right?
Well, it switched a lot. So we had some out-of-state guys, too. But DJ Scratch was part of it at one point. The DJ Twins, they were like Redman's DJs, but that was like before my time. Scratch before my time. Big Cap.
Rest in peace, Big Cap.
Rest in peace, Big. When I got there, it was Cypher Sounds. It was Big Cap. I think it was like Frank Jugga, who was the MC.
Frank Jugga has a show here on. Shout out to Frank Jugga. He's got a show here on Tuesdays.
Shout out to Frank.
I like Frank. Frank's a character.
Crazy.
He's a character.
Frank can tell you a lot of stories. Frank got a lot of stories about me. I got a lot of stories about Frank. But so I actually so now I'm the opening DJ. But I also remember I still worked in Flex's office. My job was to distribute his mixtapes. So I'm distributing mixtapes, and then the mixtape game. I knew in about a year. I'm like, the mixtape game is gonna change in a year. So what do I do when the mixtape game? He's only gonna do it for a year. When it stops, what am I gonna do with myself? I gotta get hot in a year, and I got hot in a year. But then Flex got into the automotive business. And he said to me, the way you move with this mixtape shit, I know you can move in the automotive business. So I was just like, all right, let's do it. So we had the car shows, we had the car show tours, we had TV shows, and I was behind the scenes on a lot of it.
There was a Flex show on ESPN.
ESPN
right?
2.
People don't forget
Spike
that.
TV.
You had a show on ESPN with the cars, right?
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, it's incredible. Like, if you think back,
that was the first reality TV.
Yeah,
around that
and
time.
specifically like about cars too, and then it just spiraled after that. So many
crazy.
shows came
then
from
Pimp
that.
My Rides came. And
Everything
all that
came
stuff,
from that, and people forget that was the inception of reality TV.
It was big.
Let's jump back to the timeline again. Talk to me about the relationship with DJ Khaled. I know you had the big fitteds on back then, you know what I'm saying? You had the ears covered within
my God.
you know what I'm saying? The white T-shirt. So tell me how that relationship came to be and where it's at now.
So with Khaled, I met Khaled that day in Miami, my first time opening. And he came in and he was like, hey, you got these 5 records? I was like, yeah.
Because I bought 4 crates, I got them.
Yeah, so he was just like, okay. He was like, oh, I'm Khaled. I was like, and I didn't know who he was. Because he wasn't who he is now, you know. And he stands on the table where the turntables are, puts his foot on the turntable, and takes the mic, and he's just like talking his talk. And he was like, Bobby Trench, drop that. So I dropped the record. I think it was Fat Man Scoop, Be Faithful. And the crowd went crazy. Then he was like, Trench, stop the record. Bring it back. Put the next record on. Do Annie Up on, whatever, movie. I was introduced to a movie. I was like, this is crazy. The only other person I've seen with this type of energy was Kid Capri. I was like, and I grew up on Kid Capri. I was like, Kid Capri is just like, I want that energy. So I finally see somebody else with that same type of showmanship. So I'm like, damn. So a couple years later, Flex is putting new pit bulls on, and he would ask me, what do you think about this guy? What do you think about that guy? And I still wasn't a pit bull, and I'm like, damn, he's asking me, and I want to be a pit bull. But I was never the type of person to ask for that. I felt like I had to work for it. And I was like, he knows that I want it. He has to know. I'm DJing. So we got to Miami, and he was like, I have some money in mind. And I'm like, he's, I don't think he doesn't have the DJ at the time. I said, I don't think he has that energy that our guys have. We're kind of like, we're a little rough around the edges. You know what I'm saying?
That's what they were looking for back then, though.
Yeah, that's what we were looking for. And that guy he wasn't that. So Fat Joe told Flex, you need DJ Khaled. And we were like, who's that? He was like, that's my guy from Miami. And we were like, okay, whatever. He calls us one day. We're in the office, and he's like, turn on BT. Khaled was on BT holding the camera and shaking it. It's the DJ Khaled. It's the Don Gargan. It's the Terror Squadian, the Beat Nova King. And me and Flex just stood up. We was like, that's what we need. We need him. He came. He drove, because he wasn't flying at the time. He drove to New York and was on the radio the next day with Flex, and I was in the background watching, and they inducted him into the Pit Bulls. And we just became friends from there. We would run into each other all the time. And, I saw when he started making music, and he would call me and ask me, to listen to this. What do you think about that? And when I would go to Miami, I'd talk to him. I'd go to his studio. I'd go to his house. And we became friends, And I started my Shake the Block brand a little bit after he started his We the Best brand. And he was just like, yo, I like how you move with your Shake the Block brand. I want to make you We the Best. So I was like, well, what does that mean? He was like, yeah, you're part of the team. Like, the possibilities are endless. He was like, but I want you to rep We the Best like the way you rep Shake the Block. So we worked some things out, you know what I'm saying? Like, we signed some paperwork, and we did it, you know what I'm saying? So, I'm still part of the We the Best family. Certain opportunities are still there if I need them. So there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that I'm doing right now on different projects that I may or may not bring.
And that's very important that you touch on that. I think one of the worst parts about the youth is that they don't understand that these favors are perpetual. You know what I mean? Like, use your favors wisely. Yeah. Use that phone wisely. Don't just pick up the phone. You pick up the phone you call everybody. Yeah. They won't pick up. You want people to pick up your phone? Don't call them often. No. But Jason's calling. That's a booking. Yeah. He not calling to say what's up. That's a booking. Oh, you're gonna pick up. It don't make a difference. It's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. He not calling the bullshit. That's been very important for back home. When you're picking up that phone call, run your ideas by your friends. Yeah. Talk business to your business partners. Tell me about this little video I've seen on YouTube of don't get too scared of DJ Khaled in this hotel room. I've never seen anything like this.
Oh, the sneakers.
The sneakers, man.
Yeah,
this guy was in town for like 2 days. How many sneakers did he?
So at the time, that was like at the, when like at the point of the sneaker game where everybody just started to just
hoarding.
It was right. So, I've been in the sneakers all my life, but at that point, that's when like the releases and like the hype beasts and all of that was happening. And I remember I have a younger brother who always told me, you need a flip cam. He was like, social media, you need Twitter, you need YouTube, you need this, you need all this stuff. This is before Instagram. And he was just like, yo, you're cool with Cali, you cool with all these people, man. When they're around, you just call them. Like, why won't you call him? I'm like, I don't want to bother anybody. You just call him, man. Like, he's here. I bet you he'll be like, I'm like, yeah, he would. So I call him. I say, hey, what you doing, man? He's at the Ritz-Carlton over by Central Park. I was like, yeah, man, I just want to ask you a couple questions behind the camera. He's like, yeah, come through. So I went through. I have 5 questions, and I even forgot what the other 4 were, because that one exploded. That question, when I asked that question, what were the last 3 sneakers you bought? He was just like, the last 3. He was like, and he had this guy that's named Fat Boy. He's like, Fat Boy, give me one of them bags. Give me one of them bags. Show me what you got in there. He literally bought, like, he probably had like 100 sneakers that he just bought. I'm like, you don't even live here. Like, what are you doing? Like, he was just like, And then I would say a pair of sneakers. Yeah, I just bought this pair of sneakers, blah, blah, blah. Or I would say, even better, I'd say, there's a pair of sneakers I really want that come out next week. He was like, Fat Boy, 911. Boom. And he caught the sneaker. He was like, you talking about this? I was like, it's not out yet. He was like, I wear these with a pair of gray sweats. I was just like, yo, it's fucking hilarious.
So give me another story like that that's been off camera, that's not on YouTube. Give me another story where you look back at and you're like, wow, that was a coming to be moment where like I just realized I'm way out of my lane. Like I'm not even in the same category as these people.
Man.
I know you have a lot of moments like that, but there's got to be one that really sticks out.
Jeff, I know we got stories, Jeff. We got stories. I'm actually, it's funny that you say that because I have a show that I'm working on about the stories. So I'm going to tell you more about that behind the scenes because I don't want to give away the whole thing.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But I have tons of stories, man. I have Jay-Z stories. I got...
We could do a Jay-Z story. I think we could do a Jay-Z story.
I'll give you a Jay-Z story. So when I was promoting, I had a Friday Night Live broadcast that I was doing. I actually owned the broadcast. I paid everybody. You know, I put up all the capital, all the overhead rather, and I was Friday nights broadcasting live from Club Imperial. It was on 19th Street at the time, and it was from midnight to 2 a.m. on Friday nights. My opening night, I called my good friend Swiss Beats. Can you do the opening night? Sure. This is when Empire State was out.
Woo.
And he was dating Alicia Keys.
Oh, so like prime time Swiss Beats. Like he wasn't discolored yet. He was still light skinned.
Right.
Like now he's kind of pale. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
crazy.
This stress got to him. You know what I'm saying? I was like,
Crazy.
I seen. I'm like, I don't know if it's like you're not standing next to Alicia anymore, so you don't look the same skin tone. But like, you know, like the My Created player in 2K, like when he goes from here to here, he's going back in reverse. I'm like, how is he getting lighter?
Oh my God, man.
But it's true.
He this is so the first week it was Swiss. He said, you know, my girl got Empire State. I need a record, like, so we could be like this. And he was like, and Jay-Z wants to go with Venus versus Mars as the next single. I need, what was the one with Swiss? Remember Swiss and Jay-Z had a joint on that same album. What was the name of the song? Jeff, you know the name of the song?
Tammy Google.
Swiss Beats and Jay-Z on that same album. Why can't I? On to the next one.
Oh yeah, that was a big hit.
So on to the next one. He said, I need on to the next one. I need you to help me break this record. I said, do the grand opening of my live broadcast, and we could do it live on the radio. Just you know, you're not Jay-Z, but you're gonna do your thing. So we made the movie, Lying Down the Block, Craziness. It sounded amazing on the radio. People were like, wow, Swiss Beats is really there with Bobby Trends. Bobby Trends is ripping it down. Swiss is on the mic. It's like back and forth. It's crazy. The following week, I had Fat Joe's album release party. So I'm back to back. I'm not even like, I'm just like, I got relationships from back then. Sean Pecos calls me while I'm DJing, and he goes, how is it over there? He texts me, how is it over there? I said, it's a zoo. And he said, don't embarrass me. I'm coming through with Hova. If it's not right, please tell me. He said, and Swiss is with me too. I said, ask Swiss how it was last week and tell him it was the same or better. He said, all right, I'll call you back. He called me back in 10 minutes, and he said, we're coming. Nah, I didn't tell anybody because I didn't think it was going to happen. But he said, we're coming. I'm like, I need all the cameramen to the DJ booth. I'm like, I need video. I need this. I need everybody. I said, I need the general manager to the booth. I need everybody. I said, we got to get security ready. Everybody, we're going outside. And this is when, like, the Wrangler 4-door, like, nobody was even on it yet. And Jay has the doors off with his Timberland boot out, a Yankee hat, Yankee fitted, Yankee hoodie, foot out like this. And Swiss is driving the other one, and they're doing this down the block, down 19th Street, swerving like this with 4 ESVs behind them, black ESVs. like the president was coming. It was the craziest shit I've ever seen. Like, and we didn't have video of it.
Nothing.
But I have an incredible picture. Shout to David, I forget his last name, but he worked for alltheparties.com, I think it was at the time. And I think he still works, he's definitely around. He took just an iconic picture of Jay-Z, a black and white, with his tin boot out like this, with his Yankee fitted out the Wrangler. And nobody had four-door Wranglers. So it was just like, it was so New York.
It was iconic. It was like literally
crazy.
New York.
I still have that picture. And
You got to get that picture signed.
yeah, right?
Definitely got to get that picture signed.
So we walk into the, I walk him through the back door. The police.
Who's on his set?
I had another DJ at the time, DJing. I can't remember. It was a kid named Chaos at the time.
Shout out to Chaos for holding that down, man.
Chaos holding it down.
Shout out to Chaos.
He
man.
held it down. So
imagine you a DJ and somebody tells you, yo, man, can you go on this set? I gotta go get Jay-Z from outside real quick.
so think about it. I'm running the party, I'm running the broadcast, and I'm DJing, and still doing my show, and then have to take care of Jay-Z. So like, think about how
your
I was
pressure
moving
where you're
around.
at.
You know what I'm saying? So where I was moving. So we go through the back door. NYPD's outside. They want to search Jay. Pekka said, no one is searching Jay. He said the NYPD, and they were like, okay, and they backed off. I was like, damn. And we walk in through the back door, which is really close to the DJ booth. We walk in, and it's dark. Nobody sees him. He's got his hat down low. And Swiss goes and grabs the mic, and he's like, I'm back in the building, and everybody starts going crazy. Meanwhile, this is Fat Joe's album release party.
So they're about to completely overshadow.
And at the time, Jay-Z and Fat Joe,
back then,
they weren't.
They weren't cool.
Good. They had beef. So Fat Joe's in the VIP across with his guys and a couple like little model chicks or whatever. And I see him. He's like, what's going on? And
he had his hat low with the hoodie on too, probably.
he had no hat. He had the hoodie, good pair of J's, of course, like he always has.
I just think about Fat Joe, man. He's always been so comfortable with the bald head. Like, he's so comfortable for so long.
He loves it.
For 30 years. I don't know. I mean, since I've been born, he's been bald. And he's so comfy with it. Other guys wear beanies. They wear hats. He is comfy with that little pointy on. His head is pointy, too. It's not like. Yeah, it's a little pointy, like a little alfalfa with no hair.
A pointy head.
But yeah, he got a
Joe.
point. And he's confident. But yeah, man, God bless you.
So,
Joey Crack, man.
So people started flashing the camera at Swiss. It was so many cameras that people got like a glimpse of Jay-Z in the background. And it was like the people thought they saw Jesus. It was just like, like it was like the sky opened up. It was so crazy. So I look at Chaos and I'm like, my mans, you gotta get off that set. So, he looked at me like, damn, I gotta get off the set. I'm like, get off that set.
It's my live stream, bro.
Like, you can get off the set, my man. So he gets off the set, but he's playing me, and he's a little big, so like, I'm in the booth. His stomach's over here, and I'm sorry, Chaos, I'm blowing you up, but for real. But, I could have said get out, but I was like, nah, I like Chaos. I'm like, stay in here, boom, enjoy this. Jay comes in, classic Jay, don't talk to nobody, I'm going to get to that. And my DJ killer instincts, Shake the Block didn't even exist yet. It was just like, Shake the Block was coming out. And I'm just like, I'm going to body this shit. The broadcast is over now, so they came right after the live shit. So now it's just for the people. And imagine me at my best on this microphone and Swiss Beats with another microphone, and we're going back and forth, and I'm playing Rough Rider classics, Swiss Beats classics, Jay-Z classics, going back and forth.
And this is back when everybody knew every word to those records. Like, those records were the club records.
But, like, I had no plan for this. I just bodied shit from the heart. And I caught Jay, and I have a picture of this. I got a couple pictures of that night. Jay finally put a smile on his face and was bopping. And his hat was up, and you could see his face. And
you could see his hairline?
Everything.
Without he let you, oh, wow.
And I looked at him, he was like, And he like went back to cool because Jay's cool.
Yeah.
So he went back to cool. I was like, oh. I was like, I got him. So I got the picture, the smile and the shoulders like this. And by the end of the night, he came over and was like, and Jay don't shake everybody's hand. Jay don't talk to everybody. It's just Jay. I've seen it. You can't possibly shake everybody's hand. You know, Jay's just, you know, I guess when you get to that point, it's just different. But he came over and was like, yo, I was like, yeah, that's it. I didn't ask for a picture. I didn't ask for nothing else. I was just like, I didn't even say nothing. I was just like, yeah, killed that shit.
It's a hell of a Jay-Z story.
I have a great picture. But I'm like definitely like probably 52 pounds heavier and with the big hat.
The big T-shirt and a big hat, no
crazy.
chain on,
I don't really like
rubber
putting
band around your wrist.
That's a throwback Thursday I don't really want to put up. So it's a great picture, but nah, I'm going to chill out. I'm not going to put that up.
You may have to wait till like his birthday or something, you know. Drop it on his birthday.
Maybe I'll put like a before and after. Look, I'm slimmer than I was back then type shit.
Well, you are on this weight loss journey. You're 7 pounds down in 7 days, I believe.
You saw that? You paid
Bro,
attention.
yeah, I come ready.
But I'm still drinking.
You come with
Hennessy.
5 crates. I got, as cannabis would say, I got 500 pages of notes in this motherfucker.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, I got plenty. I want to talk about like the current industry where we're at. There's this big conversation where people think that you can start a fight with music, and this is an argued topic across
Start a
DJing.
fight with music.
Now, facts is you can. You can. You can, 100%. Like to me, in my opinion, you can. You're from that era in the tunnel where like there was no cameras. If you do go wall to wall hip hop, heavy hip hop, it would get rough in there.
Yeah.
Take me to up and down New York now, downtown New York now, or like any room you play in New York now. I know there's a time in the night where you know you could push it there, and you have to come back.
Yeah, you definitely.
Talk to me about playing that line, like.
Man, I've learned this, man. Like New York City nightlife has changed. Like a while back, you were able, like I would play. My and this is gonna sound terrible. My objective was to get it so crazy that there was definitely gonna be a fight. I was like, I'm gonna cause a fight tonight. That was like my objective. But I've learned how to like that crowd control shit is just like it's such a intense, powerful feeling. I figured out how to start a fight and then stop the fight and make everybody love each other. You know, so I've done that, but I'm an aggressive DJ. I play aggressively, and I've had to learn after a couple of years. I'm like, you know what? The club scene has changed so much. A lot of clubs are in trouble. I think club owners and the city and police department and things like that, you know, they're a lot more strict with a lot of things. You know the nuisance abatement law?
Pardon?
Nuisance abatement law. So there's a nuisance abatement. It's like a ticket. If a club gets a nuisance abatement ticket, it's a summons. You can lose your liquor license, right? And in order, from what I understand, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure it's either for crowd control issues or if someone goes to the hospital, you get that ticket. It used to be where you had to get 4 of those, and then it became 2. And I understand from now it's 1. So if you get 1, you can lose your liquor license. There's fights at every club.
But they're not gonna blame it on anybody else but you because you're DJing. Like meaning like there could be a fight every day of the week with different DJs. The second you step in there and you DJ, they're gonna blame you for it.
Right. So
and that takes me to where I really want to get with this, and I think that you'll understand where I'm coming from. This whole radio stigma where like the radio DJs can't fuck with the downtown scene, etc. It stems from what you're talking about, the aggressive DJing.
Right.
Because if we think about it, like the way you guys are branding yourselves now is basically the same way everybody else is branding. Everybody's wearing off-white. Everybody's looking the same. Everybody has the same EP. Bro, I have EPKs of everybody. It all looks exactly the same. Basically looks exactly the same. So when I'm putting, let's say, your name on a ballot to an owner, I'm looking at yours and I'm looking at somebody else's. It's basically the same. But because you're a radio DJ, because you have that Hot 97 stigma on you, they're less they're less interested in it.
And
Why do you think that is? Why do you think there's such a radio stigma?
I'm gonna tell you why. Because most club owners have been in the club business so long that they remember when things were different. So like from the tunnel days, like I know tons of club owners that have owned clubs for over, like since before I started, like over 20 years. Some of the same club owners still are owning clubs, and they have the idea of, well, back then, you know, the tunnel, like people used to get shot at the tunnel. You know, people got stabbed at the tunnel. People got robbed at the tunnel. Security was robbing people at the tunnel. You know, it was a rough time, but it stayed open for like over 8, 9, 10 years. That Sunday night, rather, and
Which is coming back, by the way, Funk Flex, February 23rd, Megan Thee Stallion, biggest party in Brooklyn, biggest day party in Brooklyn, Meg Thee Stallion, Funk Flex, on the set for 5,
and Peter
for
Gation.
3 hours. Oh, Peter Gation hosting as well. I'm excited, man. I want tickets to that. I do want tickets to that. I've never asked you for tickets to Summer Jam, neither for Flex Fest, but I do want to be there for the tunnel, man. I think that's an amazing.
It's gonna be fun. But back to what you're saying, I think that the stigma isn't as bad anymore. I think it's calmed down. I think because I'll be honest with you, I think there's not. I think it's really just the DJ. If the DJ's hot, he's hot. If the DJ's not hot, he's not hot. Or he's not hot enough to be in this place, or he just marketing himself in this demographic or in this market. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, end of the day, it's business, man. Like, if you want to be in these spots, go be in the spot. You got to figure it out. There's a way. Nothing's impossible. If you want to be in a downtown spot, go get in a downtown spot. I know it's not easy. You know, it's hard for me to get in certain downtown spots. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm in there. You know what I'm saying? Like I could do any borough, any market, any state, I've DJed in many countries. You know, like so, you know, it's just about selling yourself properly. You know what I'm saying? Like marketing yourself properly. So, and also playing properly. You know, like if I didn't play properly the first time, you wouldn't have brought me back. You know what I'm saying? So like I showed people that I can play a different way. I can bring you on this ride. You know what I'm saying? I can get aggressive, and when aggressive means turn up. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's relative because there's music, there's gangbang music, there's street music, there's club music, you know, and a lot of the times in this era, it's intersected. The gangbang music has intersected with mainstream music. Right. Like if you take the last Fabio song, it's bow, 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 bow. Like it's real. Like if you're not listening to Top 40, you see this is what people don't understand. We're in an unstable industry, so there's a person who is in power that shouldn't be in power. Let's say that's the general manager. He walks across the dance floor one time. Maybe bottles aren't flying out. He's bored. He hears you play one bad record. He comes to the head promoter, me, and he's shitting on you nonstop. And he hasn't heard the whole set. He hasn't heard the whole set. He's heard one song that he didn't like, and because he's in the position, it's a dub. I can't do nothing about it. I cannot do nothing about it because that's the man who cuts my check. I do want to close out. If you can give some advice to the upcoming DJ that's coming up in the game, what's some advice you can give him?
I'd say make sure you market yourself properly. Also, if you're shit, you're marketing shit. So make sure you're not shit before you market yourself. And study the music and study the game. You know, it's easy for everybody to get music into the computer nowadays, but know your music. You know what I'm saying? Like, and try to be clever and creative and not do what everybody else is doing. Try to just make a change. Do something different. Do something different. I think the guys that do that are going to be the next guys.
Bobby Trends, Shake the Block, Industry Talk, Season 3. Make some noise, please.
Thank you for having me.
It's a wrap, brother.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate you being up here, man. I appreciate you coming down here. Thank you so much. I'm excited.
Thank you for having me.
Till the next time.
See you in the spots.
Yes, sir.